Dude, okay. We're setting up the mics right now. There was another person playing right before us, so. Alright. Do you want to come? You want to sit over there or you want to sit here?
I'm going to sit over here.
Dude, I don't think is your mic connected?
No, he said it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
He can probably only hear me underwater now.
Do you want to speak to the mic while I set this up?
Yeah.
Oh, be careful.
Oh no. We're in a very precarious situation right now. It's the first time I'm in a recording booth. There are lots of different buttons that do lots of different things. This is Val, by the way.
Yeah. My goodness.
I don't know how to fill the silence. We're going to talk about Steve Reich today. It's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Steve Reich. You can sing a happy birthday song.
No, thank you. I don't want to sing happy birthday.
Oh, why? Okay. That's such a bummer. All right. Okay. Where is my USB? Now. My goodness. What is up?
We promise we'll get to it soon.
Yeah, and we're still setting up that second mic. All right, guys. So, my name is, I guess I should say my DJ name. My name is DJ Brony. Yeah, I am a DJ at WSVA. I think right now is the perfect time to do a shameless plug, because I know you're all here for Steve Reich and MFDOOM, which is fantastic. I love that you guys are all here for that. But I will be doing a DJ workshop somewhere in October. So if any of you guys love DJing and you've been dying to know how to DJ, well, then come over to WSVA. We're at the photography building on, I think it's and yes, I'll be doing a small DJ workshop where I'll be teaching how to basically, yeah, where is my USB? I'll be basically teaching how to DJ. Yeah. All right. So, you know what? I'm going to do backup. Let's see if I can play 18 or I can play different trains using this. All right. Does this work? Does it work? I can't tell. Is it playing or not? Oh my goodness. Where's the sound? Okay, guys, we have so many technical difficulties right now. Dude, can you tell him that the sound is not working? All right, guys. You know what? I'm just going to get on with the radio show.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. I'll get the connectors.
Okay. All right, everyone.
Is it not working?
I don't know what's happening.
Wait, is this Serato that you're using?
My USB for some reason is not showing up, and so I was gonna try and play it through Spotify.
USB for what? Like for the mic?
You know, for the songs. I have it all downloaded. I was trying to connect that's my little USB right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're using the USB. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In a sense, I can't. I was gonna plug in the other mic on here, but knowing that is taken with the USB.
My goodness.
There should be red.
Huh?
Want to stream the
Music.
music.
Okay. Okay.
So
Should it work right now? Okay. It's working. It's
Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York, 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 New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York, New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York, New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York, New York. Crack train from New York. Crack train from New York, New York. Crack train from New York. From New York to Los Angeles. 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 From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York. From New York to Los Angeles. From New York. From New York.
Different trains, evidently. Different trains. 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 From Chicago. From Chicago. From Chicago to New York. From Chicago to New
Okay.
Oh no, that was really sudden. That was not smooth at all.
I can't use the DJ deck today, so it can't be that smooth. All right, so we're talking about Steve Reich today, and it is his birthday today. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Steve Reich.
We're sharing a microphone right now.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Steve Reich. I feel like I might be blaring someone's eardrums out just by speaking. I hope I'm not doing that. But yeah. Alona, we should talk about who Steve Reich is.
Steve Reich? Yeah, who is Steve Reich? Who the hell is Steve Reich? Why are we celebrating his birthday in the most parasocial way possible? I mean, we don't even know the guy. Like, hello? So, Steve Reich, he's a New York City-based composer. So, I'm pretty sure he grew up here. And so he studied philosophy in Cornell, and then he went to Juilliard for music school, and he was one of the leading exponents of the minimalist music scene in the 60s, which is, oh my gosh, thinking about the 60s, and he's like he turned 89 today. That's crazy. This guy's been making music for decades. Years! Literally, this is crazy. And he still makes music too, which is insanity. I actually went to a concert that was playing one of Steve Reich's, it was called Six Marimbas. Oh my god, it was crazy. So anyways, to our dear listeners out there, you guys might be thinking, what the heck is minimalist music? Now, a lot of you, or at least most of you, might associate minimalism with the growing desire to kind of oversimplify our consumerist life. Like, for example, minimize the amount of like this kind of cleanliness. You also see it in graphic design, and it's kind of very boring. Like a lot of our graphic icons on our little computers are in the style called minimalism. But so that's the kind of minimalism that we think about today. Fortunately, Steve Reich is none of those things, because that would be oh so very boring. So we're not gonna call. I mean, of course, I put minimalist music on the poster, but Steve Reich really isn't like minimalist, and we'll talk about that too later on. And if you think about it too, I mean, we just listen to different trains, right? Was it? I mean, what did you think about Different Trains?
So I started listening to Steve Reich with 18 Musicians, which is like in a very similar style to Two Trains. And I don't know, I found the same kind of meditative patterns, that violin in the background and the like the resurgence of the voices, and then the quieting of the voices, and the resurgence, and then the quieting, and it's all very meditative. It focuses on this breadth of music, and then repeats it, and then adds more, and then takes stuff away, and then adds more, and then exchanges some instruments out for some other ones. And I think that's like to me, when I first listened to 18 Musicians, I couldn't do anything while I was listening to the music. I tried to listen to 18 Musicians while I was animating, and it was such a task for me. I couldn't focus. I had to like turn off my screen, just put my head down, limit the stimulus entering my brain, and just like be with the music, because it was demanding all of my attention. And Two Trains, I had a very similar feeling just now. And this is actually, I think, like the second time I'm listening to Two Trains, and it's slightly more grungy than 18 Musicians, because 18 Musicians feels more like it feels less personal to a specific experience. But here I heard like specific phrases being said by the voices that Steve Reich mixed sorry guys, into the measures, and that was really interesting. It felt really edgy, and it felt really like kind of like angry, but also, I don't know, it felt like meditative in that same sort of way. But that was a long answer, sorry, but I'll give you back.
I think that is a perfectly awesome answer. Thank you. But so you're saying it's like, going back to what I was saying before, like my question to you, and you already answered this, my question to you was, how can we describe Steve Reich's music? Because I know a lot of you guys are here for MFDOOM, but this is Steve Reich's birthday. I'm here to talk about freaking Steve Reich first and foremost, okay? Going back to as I was saying, we can't really put Steve Reich into the minimalist category, but because, and going back to what you were saying too, is it was angry, and it was taken away from your attention from doing work, which is not minimalist at all. If you think about, when you think about most music now, we listen to it as like kind of a background noise while we do work, and like Steve Reich is none of those things. You know, Steve Reich, like, right now, how we're sitting here and listening to Different Trains, it's like loud and aggressive. And it's also like using like really loud train noises. You're kind of like, dude, this song is all over the place. So, I mean, it's just like contradictory to say it's minimalist. But also, a lot of times when, for example, I know this summer, as a recent Steve Reich fan, I did go to a record store to go find his stuff, and I literally could not find it, because it's like, have you ever tried like coming up to someone and be like, or like a staff at a record store and be like, hey, do you guys have like a minimalist section? They're gonna look at you all weird, you know? So so I found him in the modern classical section. Now, that's kind of also a head scratcher, because as we just listened to Different Trains, like how is that possibly, how can that be described as classical music? I mean, to our listeners out there, when you think of classical music, you think of Mozart, Bach, Beethoven.
Debussy.
Exactly. You think of that guy with the really weird name. And it's just like, sorry.
What the heck is that? Our poor listeners were making all sorts of noises. They're gonna leave us alone.
Sorry, I hit the microphone against my glasses. But my God, I lost my train of thought.
Classical music,
yes.
What would we categorize Reich as?
Yeah, what would we categorize Reich as if it's not classical music? Because, yes, Val, you are absolutely correct. He uses samples, he uses repetition, and actually, I think it's fair to kind of compare it to Bach, because I think we were talking about it earlier. You said that, or actually, do you want to say it? Something about Bach and his oh yeah, he uses so Bach is kind of like this old classy classical guy. Like, he's probably something that your parents like. You know what I mean?
No, even before that your great grandparents liked.
Yeah, true. It's like old people music. So we got Bach. And I mean, if you guys have ever listened to Bach, it's so dramatic. It is so dramatic, and he's always constantly changing it up. In classical music, you said there's a thing, motive, yeah. And in like Bach's music, there's very little repetition because of that motive. That motive usually is kind of repeated in a like a discursive. It's called discursive repetition. Discursive repetition is when you take like a phrase or a motive and you constantly repeat it throughout music. So, I mean, we got here Bach, who's like so dramatic and all over the place. And whenever when people listen to Bach, they act like it's like they open up like a third eye or something. Like they start bawling their eyes out. I mean, it makes sense. It's like it's Gregorian chant, so it's kind of like Christian music in a way. It's really emotional. But Steve Reich isn't really that, right? I mean, you said it's very angry and demanding. I mean, how do you feel about Steve Reich? Like, how do you approach listening to Steve Reich? Does it make you emotional? Does it make you start crying?
Well, I think that, like, okay, whenever I listen to him, it's like, you know, when you're watching a movie and there's that moment of rest where the character has just had a very dramatic awakening of something, they realize something, the world has changed. This is like right after the climax. They have to decide to do something, right? And so they're just staring at chaos and like clouds of smoke are floating around. I'm giving you imagery because this is the imagery that I've been given. They're like watching what the world has become with this new enlightened, I don't know, perspective. And what I feel like Two Trains does for you is that it freezes you in that moment where you're just watching the chaos that the music has for you unfold. Because, like, the thing is, like, I feel like the reason why people would classify Steve Reich as a classical music artist is just because he's instrumental, or like he's more of an instrumentalist, which is what I think people associate classical music with, like because it's primarily carried by instruments and not by lyrics. But the truth is, like, only because he's an instrumentalist doesn't mean that he is a classical music artist. A classical music artist has a very particular way of arranging music that's very European and very much, well, like Bach. It's the measures are, sure, they have repeating elements and they have repeating motives, but they're taking you through an overall story, and they're bringing you from a beginning to a middle to an end. And what I feel is different about Steve Reich is that he's not bringing you from a beginning to a middle to an end, even though, you know, you could see it that way sometimes. But to me, it feels like he's freezing you in a moment with this song particularly, with Two Trains, he's freezing you in that moment where you're witnessing destruction, because he used samples from, like, trains from World War II, right? And yeah, he used before World War II trains and after World War II trains. So he's like literally using that kind of destruction and that kind of comparison in the music that, I don't know, it simultaneously shows you, I don't know. This is going to sound so abstract. People listening to this are going to be like, well, I didn't actually feel that way when listening to this.
Sorry. That's like literally the whole point of this music, is that it's impersonal. It doesn't have any cultural meaning at all. And just so I wanted to give give different trains a backstory. So what you guys were listening while we were trying to figure out our little technical error, it was different trains, Europe before the war, and then he has a second song that's during the war. It's basically two songs, or it's actually three parts where Steve Reich kind of takes you through kind of trains, kind of like using the train before World War II, where it was kind of like leisurely, like it was innovative, it was about the industrialization of America, and then take you to World War II when the Holocaust happened, and trains were used to transport prisoners, war prisoners, to camps. So that's, and it's very interesting how I actually haven't played the second part of the song. Maybe I'll leave it for maybe the end. It is kind of a very heavy song, which is kind of ironic to say, because so that's wonderful. Thank you, Val, for your answers. We were talking about how Steve Reich's music kind of like is flatlining most of the time, right? Compared to Bach, Bach is kind of like taking you through a story, and you're kind of like getting emotional, and then you're kind of like, have you ever seen like the comment section for, I don't know if you ever like listen to Bach on YouTube, and the comment section is just full of people like talking about their life stories, like they're like, this is I mean 24 years of my divorce and blah blah blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Steve Reich is perfect. He's so, his music is so impersonal, and that's actually, now that I'm going to say, I am kind of being contradictory, that is minimalism. Because, and minimalism in art, when we talk about minimalism in art, because we were talking about what minimalism means to most people, most non-art people, but minimalism, as in the movement that happened in the 60s, was often kind of a reflection of our consumers' culture. So a lot of people, or a lot of minimalist musicians at the time were trying to make music that was kind of like so incredibly repetitive that you start to like kind of face your reality of your repetitive and bleak life. That's kind of really sad. We're actually going to listen to Steve Reich's earlier works later on. One of them is called Come Out, and you guys will get to see what I'm talking about, that like constant repetition, which is, and that repetition is also kind of different, going back to Bach, it's different from the discursive repetition of Bach, and instead, Reich kind of takes, he takes the sample, and I'll talk a little bit more about the sample. He takes the voice of a young African-American man, and he just like cuts it up, and he just keeps repeating it until it just like completely is distorted. That's It's Gonna Rain Part 1. Yeah, I don't think anyone heard you.
That's okay. Later on, like Steve Reich would come to compose this piece of music with a sample of a black street preacher. He uses all kinds of samples like those, but back to Alona.
Yeah. And also Come Out, as we're going to talk about later, is used in MFDOOM's music. But anyways, so we're saying that Reich's like earlier work is kind of like this very, very bleak. I mean, he wants us to listen to his music and be like, oh yeah, our lives are so like repetitive, and man, like I go to my work every day, and I come back and I eat dinner and I go to sleep and I like say goodnight to my wife. Like that's what he wants us to think. Like how, and that's for the most part. Besides Steve Reich, there were other minimalist musicians who also were kind of wanting to people face their bleak realities, or I guess their bleak modern realities. But different trains. Would you even say different trains makes you face that kind of reality? I mean, you're saying that it's demanding of your attention, it's angry, but it's also meditative. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean by meditative?
I mean that, like, well, as I was saying before, it freezes you in that moment where you feel like you were watching the world's chaos, but you are suspended in, like, this kind of, you're safe from it all, but you're looking at it and you're in awe of it, right? So it's meditative in the sense that, you know, it doesn't necessarily have an objective subject, even though he does use samples specifically from different events, like with two trains in it, trains from World War II, trains from World War II in Europe. Even though he does use specific examples like those, his music objectively is more of like just awe-bringing, and rather than being like, oh, Alona has something.
Would you call his music a process?
Sure, yeah. It's both the process and it makes you process something. Like it makes you process because it doesn't have like an objective subject matter. Like its lyrics aren't about a breakup. Its lyrics aren't about, I don't know. It doesn't have lyrics about like being in the trains in Europe during World War II. But it does have sounds of that, and those sounds, maybe you don't know that they're trains used in Europe during World War II, but they still give you some kind of feeling, this feeling of like awe, because you're hearing these train sounds in music, which is like crazy because they have like this really, oh my gosh, I keep thinking of Spider-Verse, because Spider-Verse has like this soundtrack where it's like every so often you hear this like this tremendous I'm describing it wrong. It's more like boom or something like that. That is it's like it's kind of like it alludes at a danger far off in the distance. So it's not like listening to the song you realize, oh yeah, this was made using trains in Europe during World War II. But no, this was made using dangerous sounds, and I feel that danger, and it's more of like something. It taps into something primal. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that meditation that I was alluding to before, it's more of like that kind of primal feeling of like you. I don't know, I'm talking for too long, but it suspends you in this primal state of like just understanding the information that's being put in your ears, and having a feeling from that.
Good. My God. This is like some. Sorry. Why are you apologizing? It's like some weird, like, proud teacher moment. Like, yes! So weird. Which, this is not that. You're not my student. That would be weird. Yeah. Literally, I agree with you. I mean, when I first listened to 18 Musicians and Different Trains, you know, actually, last year, when I listened to... because 18 Musicians, just like you, 18 Musicians was the first song I listened to by Steve Reich, and it was quite literally, as you said, like awe-grasping and just so like demanding of your attention, because you know what it was? At that time, I was taking, I was like doing cell animation, and I would just be painting. I was doing this wave thing for my film, and I would just be painting like frame after frame after frame. And that's all I would do for 9 hours at a day. And it was just so, like, I remember just being, like, I would not think about getting water. I would not think about, like, what kind of food I wanted that day, what I wanted to do afterwards. All I was thinking about was getting, like, frame after frame after frame done. Like, I'm like some kind of, like, machine. I'm just pumping out these drawings. And I remember, after like a long day, like starts, you know, when they kick you out of the labs, and it's like really dark because it's like winter. You're just like walking around, and I just click on like Steve Reich's 18 Musicians, and it was that like repetitiveness that I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second. This is so like calming to me for some reason. Because it's like, and I'm gonna say, I have a take. You know what I would call Steve Reich? Not minimalist music and not classical music. It's like time music.
It's a Zeitroman of music.
Yeah,
I don't know if Jeremy Cohen's listening. He's probably not, but it's a Zeitroman of music. Zeitroman is a time novel in German classical literature. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm listening to the song, and I'm just like, dude, I'm like thinking about it like it's 24 frames per second. Like it's just like frame after frame after frame after frame. I was going crazy, first of all, because literally I'm like neglecting my needs, my basic needs to finish this film. And I'm listening to Steve Reich being so delirious right now, being like, oh my god. Like, but that was literally what I was thinking. And that's why I love Steve Reich so much, because especially with different trains too, it's like so weirdly sublime. Like it's just like so strange. And this kind of goes in tandem with Steve Reich calling his music a process, which is oh my god, Steve Reich, happy birthday. That's so true. Oh my god, he's 89, man. That's so crazy. Happy birthday, Steve Reich. Yeah, Steve Reich calls his music a process, because in different trains, as we've seen different trains, and I'm going to be playing music for 18 musicians like later on. It's like a gradual shift, and you can feel this gradual shift. So when you're like listening to it, you're like, oh my goodness, like I can feel this music. It's like kind of like traveling from one year to another. And, I think that's literally why Steve Reich is so good. And in all due respect, even if minimalism states that you have to look at it also bleakly and it's so impersonal, like, it is kind of personal, at least to different people. Like, they bring their own personal, emotional lives into it. Just like at that moment when I was like painting those like cells, and I was just like, holy crap, like Steve Reich is the best thing ever. I mean, can you think of like, because Steve Reich also is kind of tied to a lot of music that we listen to now, particularly as we're going to go over underground hip hop and MFDOOM. Actually, yeah, I think this is a great time to play MFDOOM, actually. Should we play MFDOOM?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We'll be playing MFDOOM right now. So, Steve Reich is noted because of his big minimalism whole thing that was going on in the 60s. The advent of that was a lot of like EDM and hip hop because, a lot of it is like using samples and using like musimatic repetition, as we talked about before. So I want you guys to listen to this and figure out for yourself where can you hear Steve Reich. And this is called America's Most Blunted by MFDOOM. So we'll be playing that right now.
Then come out to show them. Like, open the blues up and let some of the blues blood come out to show them. Then come out to show them, 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 come out
Music. But I really like it. Because listening to music while stoned is a whole new world. Most parents consider its importance second only to sex. And grass will change your musical habits for the better.
I'm America's most blunted. Soon as you start sleeping, catching you off guard. We rhythm now, huh?
If you'll all gather close around the phonograph.
That thing. America's most bloody.
Quaz, when he really hits star mode, never will he boost loose Phillies with the barcode, or take a whole carload on a wasted trip, or sit wide out lace tip from tip with yip. Some rather baggies, other like they cracks and vows. Catch and tag, roll a bag of swag in a black and mouth. He twist optimal, just the raw leaf part. The list top go, bust before beef start. At the stop and go mart, acting like a spirit host done it. Yeah, yo, Doom nominated for the best role L's, and they wondered how he dealt with stress so well. Wild guess, you could say he stays sedated. Some say booted, some say faded. Someday prayed that he will grow a farm barn full. Recent research show it's not so darn harmful. Sometimes you might need to detox. It can help you with your rhyme flow and your beatbox. Off spike to your surprise, turn a Newport light to a joint right before your eyes. Tear a page out the good book, hear it how you want it.
America's most bloody. I'm the kind of stupid from the station. Bloody. The best in your perimeter.
Yeah, I can't find that nigga metal face nowhere.
America's most bloody.
Doom, the mad villain killing mad boom. Consume weed and drink brew till we perfume the room. The beat conductor smoke 27. Shady.
You can even ask my reverend.
Willie knows how the Phillies roll really though.
Spin my last dough. We got the sticky gold. I sparked the lock.
But don't f with speed, the trees will see. Quasimodo crew.
We get keys. The most blooded on the map.
The one Astro Black in the alley with a hood rat. When you try to react.
Even your pops got smacked.
Even your mom's got cracked. Meanwhile, while my bow got packed.
You drop X, you can have the sex.
What? No, I smoke
Thanks,
drink.
so I can
Own
roll
me a
your
shame.
shank.
Watch the cigarette. I got the fat sack. All day 100.
America's most bloody. I'm the kind of stupid from the station. Bloody. America's most bloody.
Creativity. It's a known fact that grass increases creativity from 8 to 11 times. In fact, everyone finds that they're more creative stoned than straight. So remember...
M-A-R-I-J-U? A-J-U-A-N-A. Marijuana.
Oh my goodness. Madlib has like the best samples. Oh my gosh. And, okay. So that was MFDOOM. That was a small little introduction for the people who don't know who MFDOOM is. For the people that do know, you might know that this is one of like the best produced MFDOOM tracks ever. I mean, the whole entire Mad Villain album is great. But we're not talking about that today, right? Because it's Steve Reich's birthday.
Happy birthday, Steve Reich.
Happy birthday, Steve Reich. Okay, so I don't know if you guys noticed, but at the beginning of America's Most Blunted, they actually do frickin' play Steve Reich. Yeah, joke's on all you guys. For the people who don't know who Steve Reich is, now you do know. And now you know that it's in MFDOOM this whole entire time. Oh, I have it in my... Wait, I don't?
No, you don't.
What the frick? Okay, so I'm gonna play a little snippet for you of Steve Reich's "Come Out," and you guys will see what I'm talking about.
I had to, like, open the bruise up and let some of the blues blood come out to show them. I had to, like, open the bruise up and let some of the blues blood come out to show them.
That's a snippet of, that's a sample from one of the Harlem Six police brutality victims speaking about his bruise and how it is that he proved that he was being like abused because he broke open his bruise to show them like, hey, I'm hurt, you know. But yeah, it's political, very political.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear our voices over the song.
I think they can.
Yeah? Okay.
out to show them, come out to show them, come out to show them, come out to show them.
So then it's like,
to show them, come out 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 to show them.
yeah, so you guys get you guys get the gist. You guys can listen to the whole thing if you want. I think it's great. I think it's definitely the early pieces of Steve Reich when he was kind of in that whole minimalist move, and he was like, oh yeah, like, oh God, he was like really edgy about it too. He was like, yeah, we gotta let people face their realities, face their repetitive, bleak lives. But also it's interesting because, as Val said, it has a very historical context to it, and political context to it, because I mean in the 60s this was the heights. This was the peak of the Civil War, or not the Civil War, sorry, the Civil Rights, the Civil Rights movement. Oh my goodness. And so, and I think Steve Reich was a tape editor for the retrial of the Harlem Six. If you guys don't know who the Harlem Six is, Val briefly did cover it, but I think it would be more fruitful if you guys go out and actually research it yourself, because it is kind of like lost history. And so Steve Reich was the tape editor for the retrial of the Harlem Six, and so among that giant pile of tape, he found this snippet where Daniel Ham, that's the name of the guy, he says, "Open the bruise and let the bruised blood come out to show him." And so it's like so crazy that this small little snippet, and it's like used in, I mean, just besides MFDOOM, this song is used in so many hip-hop songs. I mean, I could even pull up one right now. Hold on. I'm going to pull up this one. It's called Mad Lib, Land of the Drum. Yes.
This evening, the program shall be presented to you in English, Zulu, and Sotho. Now stand by.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the man. I mean the man. The dynamic.
I know. Okay. So
turn it off. Now that's it.
Yeah. There was just another song. It's also by Madlib, and I think Wiki Flag, which is another New York hip hop group, or I think it's actually a rap group, and they also use Come Out. So it's like used in so many hip hop songs. And also when we were listening to MFDOOM and Madlib, you guys can kind of like tell that they have this like weird repetitive nature to it too. Which I think is just so great and wonderful. I mean, that's crazy that because of this one guy who one day was like, yeah, I should just like re-roll this tape like a million times. Suddenly we have like hip hop, and then we have like EDM. It actually leads to, I think, one of my last questions. So I was saying that, Come Out is kind of political in a way because of its history. I mean, it's a little bit tricky to say it's political because minimalism music is in fact impersonal, and I think minimalism movement back then, they kind of like deemed themselves apolitical to some degree. So would you say that, like, I mean, Madlib and I know Madlib probably has no idea who Steve Reich is. He probably just found Steve Reich in the record store and was like, yeah, this is cool. Would you say that, like, I mean, what do you think? Like, do you think Come Out being used in all of these, like, hip-hop songs, could it be political even? Could that be political?
I feel like this is why we shouldn't doom Steve Reich to one genre, because then we would say, okay, but it has to be, like, apolitical, right? So, like, dooming him to minimalism would say, okay, then he has to not be that political, but this is that political. But I also think that it's since this is some of his earlier work that does play with repetition and stuff, it sounds to me more of like, if you don't know the history behind like where the sample came from and you're just listening to the music as it is, you get that same kind of feeling here, like listening to the words being said, like I cut open my bruise and I let it all come out. I let the blood come out. Like that kind of grotesque imagery, and that also like sad imagery. You understand exactly what Steve Reich is trying to do with the music. It's not just political, but it's also very sentimental. And I think that people without the political context will feel that sentimentality, and people with the political context will feel it mixed with that sentimentality, if that made sense.
Yeah. And that's another cool thing that, like, I mean, a lot of people, because a lot of, at least Gen Z, they're just MFDOOM glazers. They love that guy. And so it's kind of, and I agree with you, like, Come Out is political. And so in some way, when Madlib used that in MFDOOM's like track, which by the way, America's Most Blended is an incredibly popular song too. And not only in the underground hip hop scene, but just right now in like the general internet culture. And so all of these people are introduced to that historical context, to the story of Daniel Ham, to the story of Harlem 6, and that's crazy how, like, this is all because of Steve Reich. Like, I'm just like, you're like my head is spinning, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, it's like it kind of like secretly slipped itself into the vast internet. And I mean, I was researching about this, but people have been talking about like this sample of Daniel Ham saying Come Out to Show him for like years, like actual years, like all the way, like going back to 2007, like there has been songs that have been made like dedicated to just like singing out like Daniel Ham's words. Glenn Ligon, do you know who Glenn Ligon is? Glenn Ligon is an artist. And he made a series of artworks titled Come Out, and they're also actually, it's a minimalist art. And he made this in like 2016, 2014, but it was basically remembering the story of Harlem 6, and he made so many like artworks, and all it just said, and it said like in like a line, just a line, it would say come out to show him, come out to show him, and just like in a straight line, and just that was like, I don't know, 24 paintings of just that, like that repetitiveness that comes from Reich and is seen in like physical art, which is so amazing. I do maybe if we have time, we can talk just a little bit, because I don't see Babs anyway. By the way, everyone, after this show, which I'm so grateful that you guys all tuned in, but if you could please just stick around for Babs' show. It's their show is called Down the Rabbit Hole. They talk about the most random stuff ever. I think like 2 weeks ago when I was here, they came in with Jillian, and them and Jillian, they were like talking about elevators. They just talked about the history of elevators. Like,
there's a lot to say.
Yes. Like, oh my God, what are we doing here talking about Steve Reich when we could be talking about like...
But it's his birthday.
It is his birthday. Happy birthday, Steve Reich. Thank you, everyone.
Let's play 18 Musicians just to leave him off. It's also the entire thing is an hour long, but we're gonna play just like 2 minutes of it.
Yeah, we're gonna play it until Babs gets here. Yeah, or maybe Babs will never get here.
Should I check if she's here?
Wait, no. What did you want to say about 18 Musicians?
Oh, I just wanted to say, and this comes into like how Steve Reich uses samples of like people saying stuff, that 18 Musicians, and this is something I learned from Jeremy Cohen the other day in One Book at a Time before our class started, which, by the way, take that class. It's a good class. He said that in 18 Musicians, Steve Reich made measures as long as musicians could play for, like how long their breath would give for, and that's what determined the size of the measure, and that's what was repeated over and over again and mixed together with other things. So keep that in mind while we listen to 18 Musicians. This is Val and Alona.
Yeah, or DJ Brony. Never call me Alona.
Sorry.
Kidding. I'm joking. All right. Well, this was a little bit short. I wish we had more time, obviously, because I love talking about Steve Reich. It is his birthday. Happy birthday, Steve Reich.
Happy birthday.
I hope he comes to my apartment and we can have tea and cake. So, oh my God, there's Babs. We're going to play 18 Musicians. Bye, guys.